brought this deck of cards. Well, this is more just representing what I would say is sort of like a guiding force for me. Not necessarily that this is the precise object, but it's a representation of, I guess, something that's quite influential to me in the past couple of years. So I will pass it around so everyone can take a look. But basically, I used to be part of the student club while I was at UBC. I think Keiko probably knows because I mentioned it in my resume and whatnot. Basically, it was sort of like a arts and culture kind of club. The full name is the UBC Literature, etc. So the idea is that they do literature, but also a bunch of different other art forms and cultural events. So we held events like we published magazine. We held like escape room events, icebreakers, photo studios, things like that. So there was a lot of stuff going on, and I think for me, it was quite influential for me during my university years, because that was like very meaningful, and it helped me discover the things that were valuable to me, and it also gave me a lot of experience, in literary aspects or arts and cultures, community event type based kind of activities, which continue until now, is something that I'm still interested in. So I think it built a good foundation for the next couple of years, basically until now. Go viral.
But yeah, I think you've touched on something that it's kind of precious about the university experience, especially for us, but also kind of sad where it really sometimes depends on who's around, who's part of the community at the moment, because there's for a 4-year time, there's gonna be a lot of people maybe excited about one thing, and for a moment they're creating, they're producing, they have this community, but there's no promises once they leave that that's gonna stick around. Yeah. But I do like the fact that I was part of different clubs in UBC, and there was a lot of people talking about old clubs and stuff like that, and sort of keeping up the history of it. But yeah.
So I think when I joined, I was made aware of all the other things that they used to do in the past, and it seems like they have quite a history, and all the people who founded it, they're still active in the community in different aspects. They have their own film festival now, like the Taiwanese Film Festival, which was
the Taiwanese film. I applied for that job with the.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, they've really gone on to do sort of continue on with it then.
Yeah, because I think especially some of the founding members, they're still they still have that spirit in them. Even if it's not with the club because they graduated already, but they're still invested in different aspects. So they're still involved in the community in different aspects. Yeah. I brought some of the magazines that they ended up producing. It's a literary magazine, but unfortunately, I think I don't really have any copies at home. I'll have to get them from my fellow executives somehow. But yeah, so I still keep in touch with a couple of my executives, and we're still friends now. So I think that one. So in that sense, that was quite valuable to me in many different aspects. So
you're saying that experience created kind of a guiding North Star for
it was it built a very strong foundation for me, I guess, for my interest, because even ever since then I still volunteer for film festivals or other arts organizations, and of course applying to this position with Keiko's society. So altogether, it built a solid foundation for me to continue building on, even throughout my years after university. Mm-hmm. You guys can take a look if you want.
That looks really cute.
Yeah, I guess I wasn't necessarily part of making this one, but that was already kind of a legacy left over from
type of rock that you've found in your research, or anything that really inspired you to learn more about geology. I almost said geography. That's wrong.
Well, quite different. Geography.
Yeah, it's very different. There's geology and the graphy, and there's
Geography was about human and politics, I guess. But geology, your question was saying what rocks that inspired me to continue learning.
Yeah, or something that really you felt like you learned so much just by studying this one sort of material.
Well, well, when I see when I know there's the three type of rocks, like type of rock types in the earth, and each of the rocks has so unique story, and each rocks tell their story, tell the earth's story, and I just felt each of them so unique. I cannot say I prefer whichever, but I just like general, like learn more about this part. I feel like I see a different perspective of the life, because before, if you hike to the mountain, maybe biologists hike in the mountains, maybe saw, oh, there's a what type of flower there, and the mushroom, the grass, and geologists maybe see, oh, the landscape, and also this rock, what type of rocks here maybe, and and the mountains, like how the mountains form formation and rock texture and the like cross section type of landscape type of things. And maybe a painter go to the mountain, maybe see, wow, that's a beautiful painting. A photographer go to see, wow, that's a good place to take a photo. And so like before I did some painting, I see, well if I see here, okay, I see before I learned geology, I see, well, there's a paint here. It's just like a paint that's so beautiful here. Or before I see this here, I can see, wow, there's so many trees there. But after I take that geology courses, I have felt, wow, there's rocks. What type of rocks appears here? It just give me a new different aspect of the life, like just new aspect of the see the world. And I felt, why not just take a microscope and take one more length to see the world.
Do you think studying it gave you like a new perspective,
Mm-hmm.
a different way of looking at the world?
Yeah.
And like different professions, like you said, will look at it in a different way, or different people will also look at one
Yeah.
seeing it a different way.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yeah, and also I would like to see how to be a philosopher to see the world in the future.
My North Star, as it were, which is a book called Steppenwolf by the German author Hermann Hesse, who wrote it in the 1920s. It's not my favorite book, not anymore anyways, but it's very personally important to me because it's the book which made me interested in literature and philosophy as a whole. When I read this in high school, I mean, I love to read, I've always loved to read, but when I read this in high school, it showed me what literature could be. Like,
What part of the philosophy you learn as far like you like most?
I like philosophy of religion, but let's take that aside. Right now I'm taking a course on existentialism. I've read a lot of existentialism before, and that's pretty interesting. I guess in general, if I really had to choose, there's something called phenomenology, and I apologize if I say anything wrong, because this is on camera, but phenomenology is, broadly speaking, the study of moment-to-moment, like, human experience, right? Human consciousness. Like, it's a huge thing, right? Like, the phenomenon of consciousness, one moment to another. What is it like to have a soul? Questions like that I find really, really interesting. Of course, in the end with philosophy, there's no satisfying answer, I think, is a thing. People misunderstand philosophy as, like, ever being able to approach any sort of logical end, because the truth is that when everything... Like, logic is beautiful, but in the end, logic is a tautology. It can only show exactly what it shows. So everything boils down to, in the end, your intuitions. Like, what intuitions do you have or have not about the world? You can have one person who says God exists, one person says God doesn't exist, and both of them can say one person can say God exists because I feel God exists. One person can say God doesn't exist because I don't feel God exists. And you can't say either of them are wrong when it comes down to it. It's just a matter of personal intuition. So I guess that's something I actually like about philosophy, is in the end, there is no conclusion thing. Yeah.
Yeah, but at least you get to sort of have that dialogue, I guess.
The point is just trying to improve your own ideas, really.
Learning philosophy, would that bring you some change in your life? Like, would you walk on the street and see a scene, and then would you arise a lot of questions, and then would you write it down? Like, how did that bring a change to your life?
I guess in a lot of ways. One way I can say is maybe similar to what you're saying, is I really pay attention to what people say now. in a broad sense, maybe just seeing if what they're saying is internally consistent. But you can tell a lot about a person, I realize, by the words they choose. That maybe it's coming more out of poetry than philosophy, but it's connected. Though the words they choose, I think, because we all grow up in a certain cultural milieu and we all are exposed to a certain environment, and even the words we use are heavily shaped by that environment. And more with philosophy, because I'm interested in action theory broadly. But just like when someone does something, I'm thinking, I think, what is the process by which how they did that? As like, how does it like, what does it actually mean when I make a decision to do something and instantiate a will, right? Because I have a willpower. We all have willpower of some kind. How is it that we take that will and make it like tremble towards action? Do you know what I mean? And that's interesting.
Like this leaf from the western red cedar. So this is Thuja plicata, also known as Arbor Vitae or the Tree of Life. And I guess I consider this like kind of like my North Star because I used to have like a tree of the western red cedar in my backyard. It was a kind of like composite tree. So there were like 3 trees like that kind of grew together from the same source or something like that. And I didn't know it was 3 trees because they grew so close to each other that like it just looked like one big tree. And well, the thing is that like this tree, I'm assuming it was growing kind of before my house was built because we only have 3 trees in our backyard. It's like, or well, like there's the one, you know, composite like red cedar tree, and then there's like these 2 pear and persimmon trees that my parents planted when they moved. But it seemed like the tree was really old because there, when we were, or the house was like first built there. We didn't take, like we kind of just the plot was kind of just empty before that. So I'm assuming it was just pre us immigrating here. So like when the the tree seemed quite old when it eventually fell. But yeah, like the tree fell around like a couple years ago, like 5 years ago or like 3 or something like that. One of them fell like first, and then the other 2 got really diseased and fell off, but like fell down. We had to cut them down, and like I didn't really think about it much at the time, but with exploitation in mind. And like I guess, you know, when you have anthropology, you have this second pole of knowledge that you can interpret and pull from, and often like are in conversation with that you wouldn't otherwise have the opportunity to. Western science is often very absolute. Like it's oftentimes, and still is, very like, we're absolutely right, there isn't really an alternative perspective to this. Mm-hmm. And only now we're starting to incorporate indigenous idea, like a concept of how we interpret the world. But like, I think right now, especially in the university system, there's oftentimes a lack of opportunity to see that, like, to see the world from that perspective.
You actually inspire me because I take a 4-year science course and I never think about, well, the teachers who teach me science maybe more from a Western, like Europe central, like kind of view. I never think about that. I just like learn from the courses, you know, the material. So this is our text, but we may want to read, and they talk about like talk on the slides and. Well, some teacher will show some attitude about. I think the people in Earth Ocean department, like 80% professor, I mean, they have a very disappointing view about human beings.
I have is actually handkerchief. And I have this for 2 reasons. Okay, actually 3 reasons, but the 3rd reason is stupid. So we'll talk about that first.
Those are the best reasons.
The 3rd stupid reason is I've been told this carrying this around makes me attractive.
But you're hiding it, so you can't even.
But I had a few times where like all of a sudden I'll take it out for a reason or something, and like a friend will tell me, "Wait, you keep a handkerchief on you? That's hot." I'm like, that's happened 2-3 times, and I'm like, okay, I guess so. I guess that's good to know.
It's fair.
Yeah. So that's one of the reasons, but the other 2 reasons is actually more of a promise, really. The first reason is sort of a promise to myself that I am ready to be sweaty. I'm ready to get my hands dirty, because there are gonna be times when I'm gonna be in situations where it would be good, it would be helpful, I'm the one in the scenario, or I'm the best one for the job to go in, even if I have to get dirty, even if I have to get sweaty. I'm ready to do that, and I can clean myself afterwards, but I'm ready to do that. The other reason is another promise, which is basically just to be ready to comfort people when I need to. There's been a few times where there's been a couple, actually maybe an alarming amount of times where I'm just going around and I just see someone crying, just for whatever reason. A lot of times it's strangers, sometimes it's a friend. So keep this around on me just in case I need to just help someone, like just deal with things. Not say anything. You don't need to talk. Just like hand them either a tissue or this and just help them in the moment. So I consider this like a bit of a North Star for me, because I always try to keep it on me to remind myself of those 2 things where I'm ready to do what I need to do when I need to, and whether that's for myself or someone else, and then also just being ready to just be there for people when I see them. And I don't always do it. It can be awkward, especially if you're like missing class and you're like, I gotta prioritize. And sometimes and there are times when I'm a coward and I don't feel like I can just jump right in. But keeping this on me does remind me that when I am able to, I can do it. So that's when I keep a handkerchief on me. When I'm not trying to be attractive, I guess.
Yeah.
So
You've managed to out-poet the poet with that, because that is very beautiful.
thank you.
Yeah.
See, there's little good reasons I get applause. I actually never told anyone this. Basically,
I'm gonna write this down.
you go ahead. And I guess it's on camera, so like, yeah.
Yes.
Like there's no reason. Like, I guess similar things have happened, but like this was sort of sweet how it ended. Where, well, a lot of us go to UBC, a lot of us go to the same university, and sometimes you're just walking around and you just see someone crying. So I was walking around near one of the libraries, IKB, if for everyone that knows what IKB is, and I just saw a girl by herself just crying. So I just quickly. Not my handkerchief, actually. I also keep tissues on me, because sometimes it can be a bit awkward just hand someone the whole thing. So I just handed her like one of those pocket tissues and just walked away. Later on, she actually found me. Actually, it was sort of in the same area anyways, but she found me and she gave me I forget what was written on it. I still have it somewhere, but like, she gave me a Band-Aid. And she wrote on it thanking me so much for just doing that, for being a person that would just come in and not really do anything else, but just come and do this small thing for her, even though we didn't really talk. I don't think I even really said anything. We ever really said anything, but it just happened. She left me this note on a Band-Aid, which I'm sure the poet in you is very much enjoying the imagery and metaphor.
Imagery.
Yeah, there's it's amazing. It's part of the reason why I didn't really talk much is like this is kind of a lot.
It's hard to talk about special things sometimes.
Yeah,
Especially, I think not sorry to interrupt, but just sometimes you worry that it somehow takes the grandness out of it.
yeah. There's for me, a lot of times I do try to. While I am a storyteller and I like writing stories, there's a lot of times where sometimes it defeats the purpose to tell people about a story,
For sure.
which is a weird thing to think as a writer. But
No, you're right.
when especially if it's something that if if it's something that by telling it sort of cheapens it in a way, especially if I go around just telling everyone like, hey guys, I'm the type of person who like will see a girl crying and just like hand out like tissues like machine gun fire. I don't know, but
I like that energy.
it's the type of energy that I don't want to be related to me. But it's a lot what of what I do. I guess generally, where like if I'm there, if I can do it, I'll do it. Doesn't matter if I get dirty. Doesn't matter if things like sort of go out of hand. I'll at least try in the moment. Maybe regret it later, but like at the very least, try. So it's been part of a guiding principle for me. I guess like comparison to like our experiences to like where you are right now, I guess is at least related to what Daria was asking.
I think high school people are still very like self-centered, not in a bad way necessarily, but it's just it like at least in IB there's like a lot of pressure because I know like uni applications are coming up and we have like exams next year, and so it's like really easy to lose sight of like those deeper things that like you all were talking about.